Ciao friends, my name is Joee Balestrieri. I am working today with our friends at Jesse James Beads and some of the things that they do best, bead mixes and beautiful, interesting chain. So this bead mix that I have here is called Color Trends Stone Age, and it is just beautiful. This is not part of it. This is a separate bead. This is a beautiful turquoise oval bead. I just thought it looked so pretty with everything. I set it in the basket, but this beautiful bead mix has some resin seashell coin beads. It has a mix of copper, antique brass, and some stone, gemstone beads in here. I cannot talk. I'm pretty excited about my project. I love these little disco bling balls that have an antique bronze backing for the metal. So pretty. There's some ceramic beads and some copper spacers, and they're just beautiful. And the other little mix that I have out here is the safari bead and shell mix. I just love this. I really love this shell bead. I have a special affection for giraffe printed beads, so there's two of those in here, and there is a little leopard bead, a little leopard shell bead that I'm going to be using. He got lost in my little dish, but I'll show you what I'm doing with these. So there's the other little one that I really love. These are so gorgeous. What a pretty mix. So this is going to be a really unusual project. It's going to be organic. It's going to really embrace the natural elements here, and I'm going to start off with this little chain, and this is gorgeous. It is little turquoise faceted ovals, and they're encased or framed in this really pretty brass. It's so gorgeous. It's a really pretty natural gold too. So I'm going to make this my base necklace. And so it's going to look a little strange because normally we would put a clasp on the end of the chain, but I am not going to do that. This is not going to have a clasp. This part is going to be the part that goes behind the neck, and this part here I'm going to work on, and this is actually going to be a claspless necklace. So I do want both of my finished lengths of this chain to be the same. So I have to clean this up a little bit, just modify it a little bit, just cut away this one link so that I have just the loop that's on the turquoise link on both sides. So show you, you'll see when I start connecting too, but here's what they look like. So the front of my necklace is starting out just like that, and you will need 3 lobster claw clasps or more, depending on what you want to do, and you'll see why I'm saying that. And I have a couple sizes of jump rings, so I'm just going to set those off to the side, and I can set these aside as well. And I have made my first pendant, and I'm going to show you how I did this. I just loved this one that has the little bit of turquoise shell because it just picks up on my turquoise bead. And you see, I told you I love that little printed shell bead and this stone bead, and I just used some 20 gauge wire, made my own head pin, did a little fancy wire wrapping, and one of my pendants is ready. Yes, I said one of my pendants. This is going to be my second pendant, and I'm going to use that other shell bead, and that's going to be another pendant, and just stacking some of the elements that I loved the best out of the box. So I did this one so that I can show you how this necklace is going to work, because it is interchangeable, if you didn't pick up on that already, and you can make as many pendants to add into your base necklace as your heart desires. Nobody does a bead mix like Jesse James Beads, so I've designed 3 pendants for my base necklace, but there's plenty of beads left over. You could definitely keep going if you like this project. It's really fun, and what a fabulous gift this would make to give somebody a base necklace and then a choice of pendants for wearing. And so great if you travel, because you can change your looks without carrying a lot of jewelry. So I'm going to set these pendants aside until we're ready to create them. And I just did this one so that I can show you, and I have done the components for one side of the necklace. So this beautiful bead mix has these gorgeous wooden rondelles, I guess, and these copper rondelles, and these beautiful, there were 2 of these flowers in that mix, and there's some copper square spacers and these beautiful lava beads. And I have just played with these patterns, and this little component is going to get attached right here with one of those little jump rings. I'm going to use a smaller one, but I'm just going to take a jump ring and add it to the loops, and I'm going to show you the trick to my loops. I'm going to do the other side with you, but I wanted to have a sample ready because it is an unusual necklace design, and I wanted you to see how it was going to work. So on this end, there's a pretty small loop, and there's a small loop here and a small loop here, and the final drop has a little bit larger loop. Let's go ahead and attach this, and I will show you exactly what the method to my madness is on this design. You will need a pretty small jump ring for connecting to the links because they're kind of small, but this is just a little 4mm, and I make my own jump rings a lot of time using my bail making pliers, and 20 gauge wire works really well. I'm just going to close that really well. And we are going to repeat the exact same thing on this side. So the necklace has this beautiful front focal section, and we'll be able to add as many pendants and change them out as much as we want when we're done. So for little small components like this, I really like to use my scraps of wire, so you can really use anything that you want. I have this, I think this is 19 strand. It's out of my scrap bag. So, you know, there's such small components. So that is, you know, a great way to use up your scraps. And then I have some 2mm 2x2 crimp tubes here. And I also have some crimp covers, and we're going to do our first stack. So let me copy this one exactly. I need 2 of these wooden rondelles. I will need that flower bead. I'll need 3 of these copper puffy daisy spacers. And oh, I have to show you guys, these really are magical pots. I just needed a few gold spacers, and like I say, nobody does a bead mix like Jesse James beads. It feels like I just make and make and make, and I never run out. So this was a little spacer assortment in one of our magical mystery bead boxes a couple months ago, and I just borrowed a few little spacer beads out of there. You could even use seed beads here if you wanted, like a 6/0 seed bead would work really well too. But I just love having that little pot of spacers handy, and honestly, I've been taking things from it for months and it's still not empty. So I'm going to feed on my number 2 crimp tube and make a loop, and again, I'm copying this small component here, so my loops are not very big on this one. Just going to pull it down and just kind of match my loop. That looks pretty good. You can really crimp any way that you want here, but I decided to use my Xuron crimping plier. So I'm going to fit my number 2 crimp tube in the back divot and close that plier. And so on this type of crimping, it's actually making a channel for each wire to go down into the wire from the loop. And so you really want to try not to cross your wires because you get a little bit stronger crimp that way. And then I'm just going to turn it in the opposite direction, if I can get a hold of it, and just close that crimp tube really well. Just fold it in half. You don't need to be too aggressive, but just fold it in half. So my crimp looks like that. Okay, I'm just going to repeat this little stack, one of these gold spacer beads, and I'm going to run that cut wire through that spacer bead and a copper bead and a wood rondelle. I just love the mixture of these natural elements with the turquoise chain. So I'm just going to copy that because I do want both sides of my necklace to be the same. Oh, one more bead. And I'm going to slip another number 2 crimp tube on, make a loop, and go back down through. This fits the holes in these beads, take the wire really nicely, so you can run it through as many as you want. These are kind of funny little components. They're a little bit wiggly, but it's really cool, and I like how they move. Since I'm adding it to a chain, I really like that movement. So once again, I'm going to try to just copy my size of my loop and do the same thing. Get my crimping pliers in here, rest my tube. On this end, it's a little more challenging to make sure that the wires are not crossed, but I just do my best. Crimp. So you made like a little fold, and then you're going to come to this end and complete the folding. And it looks like that. And I am going to put crimp covers over these crimps, and you can do it before you stack your beads, but I save my scraps. Like, that's another little component. I like to use scraps of whatever bead stringing wire is in my scrap bag for making small components. I just feel really good about not wasting. So I have a little crimp cover, and I'm going to slip it over my folded crimp. So it looks like that. And I'm going to just be really gentle with my pliers. It's very malleable metal, and if you're not too aggressive, you can just gently close it and just form it into a little bead, and nobody can really see that it's not an actual bead if you just go side to side. Just take your time and don't be too aggressive. Perfect. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Just slip that right over my folded crimp tube and just really gently get it closed, and then just take a little bit of time to gently close up that seam. Little bit of pressure. Don't be too aggressive, because you can really mangle these if you're too. There, that little component is done. And now we're going to do this one. So I'm going to take another scrap from my scrap bag. Take a little bit bigger scrap just because these beads are a little bit bigger. And 2 more number 2 crimp tubes, 2 more crimp covers, and 2 more of those spacer beads from that bead mix. The magical bead mixes from Jesse James Beads. I just love them. And I'm going to repeat the exact same thing. Crimp tube and a loop, a small loop on one end of this component. So this component has a really small loop on one end and a larger loop on this end, and I'll show you why I did that. There's a method to the madness in this design. And I am going to uncross my 2 wires and repeat the same thing. Rest that crimp tube in the back divot, press down. It's made a little fold, and then I'm going to come to this side and close it the rest of the way. Okay, and I'm just going to copy this bead pattern now. So I started that one with one of these corrugated gold spacers. And what's next? One of these lava beads and one of these copper. Aren't these gorgeous, these copper squares? They have such a pretty profile, and I just love them. And I think next is a wooden bead, wooden rondelle, another copper, and repeat the same thing. A lava bead and a corrugated spacer bead. And same exact thing, I'm going to put the number 2 crimp tube on, make a loop here, but on this time I want this loop to be a little bit bigger. I'm going to match it to this loop here. So make a loop, go back down through. Like I said, it feels a little strange to hold on to this because it's such a small component, but it can be done. It's just a little different because you're not crimping like an entire necklace or a bracelet. And look at that, my wire went all the way back down through to the end. So that's good. Okay, so I'm just going to match this loop. That's pretty good. It needs to be just a little bit smaller. Just going to match it to this end. That looks good. And I'm going to repeat that exact same thing again. Just lay my number 2 crimp tube in the last divot, make that fold, and then finish folding it the rest of the way. So it looks like that. And trim away this end of wire and crimp covers again. Same thing on this side. Another little crimp cover. It really gently, and then you can go front to back, side to side, and sometimes I even fit my pliers like top to bottom. Just gently mold that into a little bead. Perfect. Okay. And now we can connect these just the way that I did the other side. I will start with one small jump ring and 2 larger ones. Just going to open that and get a hold of this little loop. So on the loops, I let my bead stringing wire be exposed because, as I said, I like the organic nature of this project and things being a little bit rustic. But you could cover those loops with French wire. You could cover them with seed beads. But I like them just, I had this copper colored wire in my scrap bag, and I really like them just like that. I think it's really pretty. It just adds something. And I'm going to do the flower component next. And I want to connect it in the same direction that I connected the other side of the necklace. So let me find that spot. These are two-sided too, so let me see which way I want to go. Just like that. And now I'm going to add my component to that. I also really like the effect of the shiny gold on the antique brass. So pretty. Jump ring is not cooperating with me. And now I'm going to connect my last connection for my base necklace. And just making sure when I connect here that the smaller loop is on my flower connector and not the larger loop, because I want the larger loops to land right at the bottom of my base necklace. And you know, you could really adjust this project for length if you made more sections, but I really like this. So that's what I have. I know it looks funny, but look how cool this is. This is why I went ahead and made up one of my pendants, and I put a lobster claw clasp on the top, and then what you do is just grab both of your loops with the lobster claw and add your pendant, and it becomes not only your pendant and your focal, but also your closure for this necklace. So it's so pretty. It's really a beautiful little design. I mean, it's beautiful. You could stop there, but like I said, why would I stop there when I have so many more beads left to work with? And it's super easy to just keep your base necklace and unhook your pendant and add in a different one to change your look. And you could make so many. I mean, you could just keep going with these loops here, and I made them just a little bit bigger than I normally would so that it would not be difficult to change out the pendants. So let's do this beautiful turquoise oval bead. Okay, I'm gonna smooth and warm a nice generous length of 20 gauge wire, and I'm gonna put that through my bead. And on this one, I'm going to be it's going to be really simple. Just the bead and wire, no other beads, no spacers, no bead caps. I'm just going to embellish this bead in a really artisan, organic, handmade way. So you can decide on this if you want the front of your bead to be without the wire, or if you want the front of your bead to be where you're going to lay your wire. For me, I love seeing the wire on the bead, so I'm going to do that, and I'm leaving myself plenty of space up here to create my loop, wrap down, and I'm planning to do maybe a little embellishment. I wish I could give those of you that are insecure about your wire working like a scientific step-by-step way to do this, but I do this with my heart. I look for the natural path of the wire as I'm wrapping and just how it feels, you know. So that's what I'm going to do with this, and I'll try to go slowly and kind of share the design process. But I'm going to take this wire and fold it up across the top of the bead and just get a hold of it with my thumb and forefinger. And now I'm going to wrap this wire around my upward stem here. So I'm sorry, you guys, let me make a little blank space beneath the bead. And I'm going to just get a few wraps in here going up. And like what I'm thinking is that I want to wrap on top of these to make this thicker, just because of the scale of this bead. So I'm going to do, and I also want to have a little bit of a neck, because I want the wire to be the embellishment on this. So I'm going to stop, I guess, right about there and snip that off. That goes back in my scrap bag. And I also am going to do a little bit of let me tuck this a little bit so that I can easily wrap on top of it when I come back down. I'm also going to do a bit of a lightning bolt pattern here. I'm going to start down here and grab that wire and just give it a twist. Come in the middle, give it a twist, come up a little bit more and give it a twist. And look at that. It's so gorgeous, but it also tightened my bead. So as I said, you could make this the back if you don't care for the wire on the bead, but I think it looks really avant-garde and artisan, handmade, and like if I did this another 4 times, it wouldn't look the same. So I just really love that. So now I'm going to put a loop in here. So I'm going to get a hold of the top of my wraps and do a 90-degree bend and use my round nose pliers, get kind of a medium-sized loop. Bring that wire over the top barrel of the plier. I can't keep going because the bottom barrel is in my way, so I'm going to rotate. And now what was the bottom barrel is now on the top, and I'm going to pull this wire the rest of the way around, center that loop right on my bead. So if I have to roll my wrist back or pull the wire, whatever I need to do to get that loop right in the center, and when I take my round nose pliers away, I have this really good loop. And now I'm going to get a hold of my loop and just start wrapping. And like I said, just because this bead is kind of large and I'm looking at the scale, I'm going to wrap right on top of those wraps, but kind of in a, can you see, kind of laying a little spiral on top of my wraps. And I'm going to bring this around to the front. And now I'm going to trim a little bit of it because actually I might be okay with that. I want to do a spiral that lays on the top of the bead. Maybe just take a little bit of it off. I don't want it to be too big. The longer this wire is, of course, the longer that spiral will be. So I'm just going to come right to the end of this wire with my round nose pliers and get my spiral started with a little curl. And if you want your spiral to be nice and tight, then you want to start with that closed really well. If you want a more open spiral, then you can leave it. And like I said, these are very organic, so you know, each one would turn out a little bit differently, and I just love that. And for some reason, this goes so beautifully with the turquoise and all of the natural elements, you know, the wood and the brass and the copper. I just think it's so pretty. Okay, Joey, stop talking and start spiraling. I'm gonna just push this in small increments against my thumb. I'm doing it a little bit backwards, hopefully, so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to spiral right down to my bead a little bit at a time. And then from here you can either push it up, but since I embellished a little bit with wrapping, I'm going to push this down onto the front of my bead, and I'm also going to, let me fix my handle on my plier. I'm also going to give this a little twist here. And if I need to, I will use my nylon jaw pliers to make things lay really flat. You can also get underneath and like turn it down so that it's laying flat. So that is done. I love it. I think it's gorgeous. And so here again, I'm going to come back in with my little dish to take a lobster claw clasp and one of these small jump rings and attach it to here. These little, I think these are 4mm. They might be 3mm, but they're really small. But I'm just going to put that through the loop and add my lobster claw clasp, and pendant number 2, choice number 2 is done. I love interchangeable jewelry. I think it is so much fun, and it does make such a nice gift, even if for yourself. And if you have a base necklace that's something you love, like for me, turquoise and gold is so wonderful. As my bead boxes come in, I could do pink pendants for this. I could, you know, just really have fun. And then it's the same thing. This attaches to both of these loops in the front. And once again, it's the closure of my necklace, but another pendant choice. Look at that one. It's so beautiful. I want to play with it. It's so pretty. Okay, pendant number 2 is done, and for pendant number 3, I chose this beautiful shell and one of the lava beads for the very top, and I love this natural color. It looks like smoky quartz or smoky topaz, but it's a puffy coin bead and it's faceted all the way around, and it's kind of frosted on the table cut or flat side. And I just love that colorway, and I love going from like a brighter pendant, a larger pendant, to a smaller pendant. And once again, from this little bead mix, I have just stolen a few spacers. I have a couple of little spacer beads here from that same mix. I was going to do a spiral exactly like this, but it is the same thing that we just did here. So I'm going to create a fancy head pin here with my bail making pliers. I'm going to use the smallest step on my bail making plier and come right here and just do a few little coils, almost making like a little coiled barrel. Okay, about like that. So just a few little coils, and then I'm going to bend this. I'm going to turn this into a coiled head pin, so I'm going to just bend this up and then kind of direct it into the middle of the coil. And it's 22 gauge wire, so you can do a lot of that with your fingers, hand sculpting. And if you weren't happy with your coil, you can either tuck the last one in, or I think I'll just take my cutters and just snip it if if the way your coil came off the tool wasn't neat enough for you, you can either tidy it up with your pliers or just trim it off. That looks perfect. So I tucked it so it's really soft. I just pushed that end in so it's really soft. There's nothing jagged on that. And I'm going to do my beautiful oval shell bead at the bottom. I have a little kink in my wire. Shell beads and pearl beads have notoriously tiny holes, and they don't even like a bend in the wire. There we go. So look at that cool little head pin. It's just like a little spring or a little coil. I love it. And I'm going to put one of these starlight kind of Pringles looking spacer beads so that it rests on top, and this beautiful coin bead on top of that, and a disc spacer from that mix, and a beautiful lava bead, and top it off with one of those corrugated spacers, and that's going to be my little stack for this pendant. And what I love about this is that my elements that are in my pendants also appear in my embellished chain. So I just really love that. And then from here, it is exactly the same thing. Get a hold of my wire right at the top of my bead stack, give that a 90-degree bend, and do another wire wrapped loop. And for those of you that are newer and you're wondering why you would do a wire wrapped loop at times or a simple loop at times, simple loops can be opened and closed, but also when you have coin beads or beads with a design that you want it to be facing forward, a simple loop is going to leave everything loose and spinning around, and that's a look. And if you like that look, that's fine. But for me, I want my shell bead to be facing forward. I want this coin bead to be facing forward. So when you do a wrapped loop, it gives you the opportunity to secure everything, to tighten it down so that everything is staying facing in the direction that you want. So once you wrap down to your beads, you get everything the way that you want, and then do that final wrap that you are going to gently get a hold of and just push it in line with your other coils. And when you do that, you really secure everything. So now you can see everything is stabilized. And so that's one of the benefits of a wrapped loop over a simple loop. And it is a stone bead and crystal, so be careful, but I want to come in and tuck that where that cut end and get it so that you can't see it or feel it. Perfect. And just do a final tidy up. Look at that. That is a gorgeous pendant. I absolutely love that, and I love that little coiled head pin. Oh my goodness, you guys, this is so fun. Okay, and same thing. I'm going to take one of those smaller jump rings and my last lobster claw clasp, and as I said, look at all the beads that are left that I didn't use. I didn't use the ceramic beads. They would be absolutely gorgeous to stack them and turn those into a pendant. Like, you could really keep going, and what a fabulous set this is. It's so beautiful. I have to try it. So I'm going to unhook this one and add this one in and just see how it looks. You can just grab both loops at one time, and that's why I made them a little bit bigger so that the pendants go on and off really easily. Oh my goodness, you guys, this is so pretty. Let me clear things away a little bit here. Look how gorgeous this set is. And it's all interchangeable, perfect for travel, and you just really embrace all the natural elements like brass, bronze, turquoise, wood, stone. Oh my goodness, this was such a wonderful, fun, delightful project. Check the description box for links, and I'll be back with another video. I hope everybody's safe and well and having fun on your beading mats. Ciao, friends.